Hi everyone. We're going to get to color now in a second, but I need to sort of go over what some of the course projects that are coming up are. And I figure I might as well record it because I can crank one of these out and you can watch it again if you wanted to, rather than watching it. You don't need to see it at synchronous time, but you ask questions. I'll try and remind you about these projects soon. So first of all, we're going to look at more visual perception. We're going to look at color in particular. And how do we accommodate color blindness, for example, in our visualizations or any kind of way we're presenting our data. And we're going to figure out how to effectively use our color channel, how it maps to different colors, different things. But first, I want to talk about Project 3 and Homework 4. So put Project 4 and Homework 4. I guess I fixed this one here at least. Project 4 is building the back end and design API for our system. So just trying to clarify things. I needed another project, essentially. That's it. That's the reason why Project 4 exists. It was not meant to be like, we are going to teach you this one thing. You have to build the back end anyways. And so Project 4 is a deliverable to try and get you on task, on schedule for making the back end. That's all parts of the back end if you can. So if you're doing machine learning ingestion, if you're doing a SQL database, if you are trying to get the data from some external source and clean it up, or whatever the heck you're trying to do here, those should be done by Project 4. If you're trying to hook up back-end services, the things that the user is not going to actually see at the end, or presumably not going to see at the end, that's the stuff that should be done, hopefully by Project 4. Ideally, you would also build some kind of API, some kind of advanced programming interface, I do believe is the acronym there, but the ability to have your Jupyter notebook talk to this thing and get data from it, or for if you're using JavaScript, that your JavaScript client communicates and grabs the data from some other source, right? However that source is, it doesn't. You're trying to say like the data and how I'm interacting with the data are separate. That we have this difference between the back-end services, the scraping, the pulling, ingestion for machine learning algorithms, the database stuff, all of that stuff should be one layer, and then the other layer is what the user is actually interacting with. I'm assuming somewhat of a client-server architecture, the server being the hardcore computer science, no one has to talk to a user at all, we don't care what the user does kind of side of things, and then the client being the interface that the person is using. And I like separating those two ideas because Project 4 is really about the stuff that has nothing to do with the course. It does deal with the course, but back-end stuff is not the stuff that we're really trying to emphasize here. Ideally, so you'd be making it so that you can now test your system in an effective way later. If you provide an API and a back-end, it would be great if you had some front-end code, something like a simple little toy set of code. Maybe it's just a script that runs, but some way of testing your system to make sure it works as expected. The only point of Project 4 is essentially to make you do the work that you needed to do anyways for your project, and you're just testing to make sure that the non-user facing stuff is done. And if you let us, give us some code so we can play with this system, that's even better. Okay. The other part, I think this would be Homework 4, but maybe it's Homework 5. Okay, the Dear Data pen pals. You'll see DD all over the place for Dear Data. The origin of this particular project is a bunch of two people that were visualization designers at a visualization workshop, and they got to talking, and they sort of committed to a year. I cannot believe they did a year, but committed to a year of sending each other postcards in the mail to other countries. Essentially, one person was in the UK, I think the other one was in America. But their promise was they'd make a hand-drawn visualization about something they encountered in their day-to-day life, and they'd make it novel, which is the other thing. They're not doing pie charts or bar charts. They're not doing scatter plots. They are trying to make novel visualizations based off of data that they see in their daily life with a pen and paper on a postcard. It has to be able to fit on a postcard. So we're going to do something very, very similar to this. That's what this project is about. You're going to collect data about your day-to-day life during the run of a week, And then you're going to visualize it by drawing on a postcard. And you might go like, why am I doing that? And so my Viz class last term got this, and we're like, yep, I got it, I understand, great, right? They knew why they were doing it. When I teach computer scientists, oftentimes they freaking like, why are we doing that? Why am I drawing stuff with a pen and paper? It's stupid. And you're like, no, it's important. It's why do you write pseudocode, right? Why do you do this? Why do you do documentation? This project is designed to get you thinking about every last little line you draw, how well it's conveyed. It's easy to just muck around with Tableau and get something, just trial and error. This is, you have to consciously choose how you do stuff. You get to be really creative. That's the point. You're trying to do something that no one's done before, or you've never seen anyone do before, and try and convey something interesting in the data. So, in case you're wondering, this, for example, so on one side, it would be the visualization. The back end of the postcard, where you can put the to and from, but we're going to just give unique IDs to each other, is an explanation of what it's doing, like how to read it, what all these different parts are, what these different symbol sets are, whether it was successful, what happened, that sort of thing. Like, you're trying to give people enough information so they can read your postcard and understand what the data is saying. So each icon represents a book, reading of a single book, they're drawn next to each other, and whether it's interrupted, whether it's intact, whether it was mauled by the baby, because it's reading a book to a baby, or the baby ate the book. I think it might be baby eating the book, or it might be just devoured as in it was really excited to read it. Whether it was from the shelf, the floor, it was repeated multiple times, or dad's face was involved. I have no idea where the dad's face is. There's a dad's face. There you go. This book was be repeated multiple times. This is a book from the bookshelf, only half read. This was repeated multiple times, right? That sort of thing. He has a newborn. So it would look like this would be the front of the book, the postcard. This would be the back. Here's my son doing something very, very similar, although it looks phallic. It's not meant to look phallic. He didn't realize it looked phallic at the time. Here is a postcard, or here is him making a visualization of his games that he has down in the basement. And he's just counting up the different groups and clustering them together. So I took that same idea and I extended it. So I have a visualization of the games that my kids have down in the basement for various game systems with different colors of the boxes for the various games. And thing like some of the games are like Disney Infinity games, where the game itself is only this to start. You need to buy all these other little parts to play different versions of the game. So you could play Avengers or Monsters Incorporated or Cars or something like that. And so here would be Cars, here would be Monsters Incorporated, here would be, I can't see, The Incredibles, here would be the various Star Wars films, Inside Out. So this is me, I'm doodling up my ideas, which I strongly recommend, right? Here's a bunch of other pages of me doodling up my ideas for how I could get across that information. Here is a draft. Here's another draft. Here is me expanding on a particular idea. Here is the final version of the game. And what we have, we also are conveying how many discs are in each of the games. So here's the Disney Infinity game. Here's a Disney Infinity game. Here's another Disney Infinity game. They had 3 different versions of the Disney Infinity. Here's a game with 2 discs in it. It's Mass Effect, by the way, in case you didn't know. Here's Mass Effect 2, I do believe. And what's this one? This would be Fable, which we bought at a garage sale, but didn't have a disc in it. We didn't realize until we got it home. So we have an empty box downstairs. We can also say what controllers do you have for these different systems and what color the box is. What you're going to be doing is reading one of these prompts, such as when, where, and why do I read this week, for example, or how often do you say thank you to people that we meet, or what animals do you see in your urban or not so urban environments, right? Any of these would be perfectly fine as a prompt, and you're going to collect data about the whatever this prompt is, and then visualize it in a unique way. And you're probably wondering, why am I doing this? Because it gets you thinking about how to design. It's not by accidents. Design doesn't happen by accident. It's meticulous, it's iterative, You expect to do something wrong, so you will iteratively just finally build a postcard visualization. You will have an ID. Your partner will have an ID. You don't know who your partner is. We will transfer. Normally it would be a physical postcard. I still want you making a physical postcard. You will not mail it to the person though. We'll just take a photo of these postcards and put them on a Google Drive with your ID and your partner's ID. Actually, you'll be saving it to See You Learn. We will grab these files, put them on a Google Drive. Your partner will then look at your visualization and critique it to give you feedback, what they understood, what they didn't understand. Anonymous feedback. You don't know who they are, they don't know who you are. That's the point. And then, so you'll be changing and evaluating each other. And normally we do another iteration of this, but we don't have time this time. So you're just going to evaluate the other person afterwards and give them feedback on what their visualization was. And you'll get feedback on what your visualization was and how you could improve it. Okay? When we come back, we'll actually get into color perception. Actually, we're one slide ahead, I think. We're going to get into color perception and things like rainbow color maps and why I hate them. All right. Thanks, everyone.